Exactly.
Yeah. But one of the things I was thinking of too a while ago was because like one of these examples, like why do we hunt monsters in D&D specifically? Like why do players, as a DM, why do I think it's really neat to do and make monster hunts?
I mean,
but like as a player, it's like there's like what is obviously it's like XP.
Do you mean why is it appealing?
Yeah, it's like
because I would argue we don't hunt monsters in D&D. We kill monsters in D&D. We don't hunt them. We just kill them.
Right. We're going on monster hunt, killing them. Like
there's a difference. There's a difference, Matt. Trust me.
Well, I'm kind of again generalizing like the whole bit because like
so the distinction here is important. That's what I'm trying to say. Like there's a difference between let's put it this way. If you have a gun, right, in real life, if you have a gun and you go to, a 1 acre plot of land with no trees or cover, and there's a fence all the way around it, and there's a deer in the middle of that 1 acre plot of land, and you shoot that deer with the gun, you did not hunt that deer. You killed that deer, but you did not hunt that deer, Whereas if you go into the woods and track it for 3 hours and then kill it, you hunted the deer.
Right. Well, this general question is just leading me into like, why do we hunt monsters? Like, what's the end goal for players and stuff?
Okay,
like,
so if I may,
yeah.
I think the question is, why do players like the big monster specifically?
Okay, well, so that feels like a separate thing though, or a separate question. Because what I'm saying is, Matt, you're saying why do we hunt monsters, and my counter is we don't. We don't hunt monsters in 5e. You just kill them. You don't actually hunt them. Now, why do we want? Why is the idea of doing the hunting part appealing? That's a different thing. That's its own. That's like a separate question. You know what I'm saying? And then why is the big monster enticing is like also kind of a separate question. You know what I'm saying?
Sick. I don't even feel like I'm hosting.
Do you get what I mean though? Like, or am I just do it? Like,
no, I do.
I mean,
I think you're nitpicking for no reason.
It's not. No, it's. But that's the thing. It's not. That's what. It's not nitpicking because it's what I was talking about at first. It was what I was talking about in the first place. Why I'm saying 5e seems like a good game for hunting monsters, but actually isn't. Like it kind of lies to you because these distinctions are what take it from A to B. Like the distinctions are what make the difference. Because just walking down a hallway into a big room and fighting a boss is not the same thing as what you do in The Witcher 3 when you get a monster contract, right? Those aren't the same.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's not nitpicking. It's like it seems like nitpicking on like the surface, but when you start to break it down, the difference matters.
I guess. All right. So I guess I failed in my original question was like, I guess.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying your original question is actually, I think, 3 questions is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, because like.
So which one do you want me to answer first?
I want to talk about because at some point I do want to talk about like making monster bits into magical bits type of deal. But like that could be, I don't know, a later on type of topic or whatever. Because that is kind of what I was like angling of like one of the things of like why players like killing monsters. But I guess that is a different thing than hunting monsters.
It's well. Isaiah, I guess you start with where you were going with your distinction.
Well, so if we're coming at it from the question of why do players like taking down the big monster, to get weirdly like profound, I think it's just something built into humans. Like there's something very David and Goliath about it, right? Like I'm tiny thing taking on big thing, for I am, a badass, or power, friendship, or so have you. Like there's a.
You see a tall tree, you want to climb it. You see a big boulder, you want to climb it.
Yeah, kind of something like that. Yeah, like you see a massive obstacle that seems unachievable, and then you go, I bet. You strap on a sword. So I think that's probably what it is. And in games like 5e, you're not actually committing murder on an ancient being. And you're getting paid for it with, potentially gold, XP, and whatever bits you can rip off the thing to make into a cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue you're not really being. It sounds dramatic, but you're not really being that dramatic because it is true. There's an innate human urge to do the like. It doesn't even necessarily have to be the David and Goliath thing so much as just the innate human urge to like overcome the challenge. You know, That's really all it is.
Yeah.
And also, you know, I think the big monster fight is the number one fantasy that D&D sells at the end of the day. You know, like when
Quite literally, yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's literally called Dungeons and Dragons, right? So it's like the two things we're selling here is big monster in room. You know, it's funny. I heard someone say, it really shouldn't be, if they wanted to name the game really literal, they would call it, places and things.
Yeah.
Or things in places, because that's really what it is, right? Big thing in place that I fight, right? Dungeon in a dragon in a dungeon. So yeah, I think when it comes to D&D, it's appealing to do the big monster fight because it is literally the primary fantasy that the game was based on originally. Because before they had the game, they had chainmail, and chainmail is army versus army, soldier shoots soldier. D&D is like, what if we focused in on the soldiers and had the soldiers overcome like a big obstacle? So it goes from being this big battlefield to now we're shrinking way down into a room and we're focusing on one specific fight. And since the dawn of the game, the most interesting fights have been shit like beholders and dragons and demon lords, which are all big monsters. You know, it's like, it's really, really intrinsic to the game.
Yeah.
But all that being said, all of that just involves killing and not the hunting. The hunting part is not actually that intrinsic to the game, which is kind of weird, but true in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Right.
so that, yeah, the game almost designs for the destination and not the journey.
Right, exactly. Yes, that is actually the best way to put it. Yeah, the game is
Right, 'cause
designed
you
for the
wouldn't-
destination.
Because you wouldn't call like, you know, an NPC tavern keeper's like, oh yeah, go kill all the rats in my basement. That's not a monster hunt. That's just, you know, a
Right.
kill quest.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
a level 1 quest.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but like if it's like, oh yeah, there's this, band of orcs or something, or a band of ogres, like whatever in the town. There's been a problem. Can you go out there, find them, kill them, bring me their heads? Is that a monster hunt, or is that just a side quest to go kill some?
So I think the distinction,
or another kill quest. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the distinction for me is it how you get to the final goal, right? Like D&D by default, generally it's like, hey, I need you to kill these ogres for me. Okay. We go out. Oh, the ogres are in their lair. Okay, we enter the lair. We do the lair thing. We find them at the back in the big room. We kill the ogres. That's just standard D&D. That's a kill quest. If part of the quest is, hey, I need you to fix this ogre problem for me, I don't know where the ogres are or where they're hiding or where they're coming from. So step one, so the first step is even figuring out, or it might not even be ogres, right? Like step one is something is killing my goats. I don't know what's killing my goats. Step two, all right, we figured out it's ogres. Okay, where are the ogres? I don't know where the ogres are. Investigate the scene. All right, we might have an idea. Okay, now that we know where the ogres are, track them to their lair. Okay, we found the lair. Now we need to try and find them within the lair. You know, like that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, and it's breaking up into little,
it becomes
little different tasks, different skills that you have to use.
It becomes more about the journey, like Isaiah was saying. When the focus of the like fighting the monster is about the journey and not just the fight at the end, then it turns into more of a hunt vibe, right? Like a lot of, again, The Witcher being the easiest comparison here. In the Witcher game, when you get a monster contract, the first thing you have to do is be like, all right, I got to go to the site where somebody said they saw a funny thing and figure out, based on this description that this one peasant gave me, that it was a dude with a big ass and teeth, which doesn't help me very much. I have to go look around and investigate the kills.
A dude with a big ass.
I have to go investigate the kill
Did
site.
you mean to say with big ass teeth?
No. I said big. No. I meant what I said.
It's a reverse vampire, just has a big ass.
Yeah.
Just angles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, go find the werewolf with the massive dumpy.
Yeah. Right. So it's like,
the ball over here.
yeah, or like the thing where it's like, oh, there's a noon wraith, and some lady describes how a child got lifted in the air and then ripped apart, and you're like, well, that doesn't really tell me a lot, so I have to go to the location, and step one is figure out what I'm even dealing with. And that's how most of the Witcher contracts go, right? Is like, because you're talking to a bunch of dumb peasants, no offense to the peasants, but it'd be like that sometimes. Because you're talking to a bunch of dumb peasants, you're like, I need to figure out what the fuck they're even talking about, because they just described me some big dog man with a fat ass, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's a wolf. It's totally a wolf. Meanwhile, in the end quest, it's a lion. You're just like, son of a bitch.
You see oh, man, I hate that I made that joke.
What a good movie that was, wasn't it?
Oh my God.
Well, no, you know what it is. It's like, oh, it's a dog thing with a fat ass, and then you find out it's a werewolf that has a thorax like a spider.
Oh, that's where this was going.
Yeah. That's not what the original thought was, but that's where I'm going with it now.
I know. I just
He's got a giant ant thorax.
I was wondering. I'm like, okay, he keeps talking about someone with a fat ass. What are we doing here?
It's a drider. It's a werewolf drider.
Yeah.
Oh, Sam's not here for this. Don't put this out into the universe.
Drider,
It's a werewolf
space spider drider.
Werewolf space spider drider. Yeah.
But yeah, that does add to, because if you think about like D&D right now, you have role playing, combat, the two biggest pillars of the game, and then you have the third pillar, which is supposed to be exploration. And most people agree that within 5e, at least at the moment, that exploration is probably the weakest pillar of the game.
Matt, did we listen to the same episode of the Ultra Floorcast?
No, what?
Oh, okay, because they talked about this very recently.
Oh shit!
And like the last episode before.
Because like besides like obviously like you explore a dungeon and all that, or like you go out into the woods and do a hex crawl like Tomb of Annihilation.
Okay.
I love that shit, but like I don't think I'd be able to run it well.
So here's the thing. This is where things start to get complicated, but this will wrap back around to the monster hunting situation. The thing about exploration, and I'm just gonna steal this quote. This is from Sean Merwin. I'm just gonna rip this right out of his fucking mouth because it's a good quote. Exploration is going from the known to the unknown, right? That can mean a lot of things. Mm-hmm. The problem right now that 5e has is a lot of people, when they say exploration, really are talking about travel.
Right.
Which is not actually what anyone really gives a shit about. They just think they give a shit about it, but it's not really what you give a shit about, right?
That's why there's like 30 videos on YouTube of how to make traveling interesting. Right. And most people by the end of the video just say, just skip it.
Just skip it. Exactly. Because what you want isn't the travel. It's the exploring the thing, right? Exploring the weird thing. When you're playing
the deep dark forest or the ruins of the ancient dungeon or whatever the fuck, Ice Mountain.
When you're playing Elden Ring, the fun part is not running from point A to point B on your hack, right? That's not the fun part. The fun part is running around on your hack named Torrent, and then you see a weird thing over to your left and being like, what the fuck is that? And then you walk over and it's a random dungeon with a boss in it, right? That's the fun part in Elden Ring. That's the thing people...
Finding things out in the open, or not out in the open, but finding things as you're exploring from A to B, looking at all the different new sites. Same thing with like Skyrim or any kind of old game like that.
Yes. That's the part people actually want. So, when we come back around to the monster hunting thing, what's appealing about the monster hunt is that's the whole point of a hunt.
Yeah.
I don't have the information. I'm going to survey the area and gain the information to then do the thing.
I'm going into the unknown to find a thing.
Part of the reason dungeons are fun is because I don't know what's in this dungeon. I don't know what's in every room. I don't know what's around the corners. I'm checking doors. I'm checking corners. I'm using my torch. I'm snuffing my light to sneak around. I'm checking for That's
using
all
my
the
10-foot pole to see.
Using my 10-foot pole. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's where it gets fun. And that's why the monster hunting idea sounds like a good idea. Or it not even sounds like it is a good idea. It is fun. It's just 5e fights you.
Yeah.